Hello, hello. Who's here? Hi, everyone. I got the good camera working this time, so I'm excited about that. Um, we are live here on this Friday evening. I don't usually do a Friday evening live, but I wanted to make sure I did not let today go by without checking in with you all, partly because I've been pretty MIA this October after at one point talking about having a lot of hopes and dreams and plans for October that just completely did not come true, and that's okay. Life happens. It's been one of those months when life has happened a lot. But also, today is a very special day for me because I, 1 year ago today, on October 27th of 2022, is when I got my gastric sleeve surgery. And every now and then I will get comments asking about how's it going, what's it like, all of that stuff. So I want to share my experience in that regard for those who are interested. It comes with the natural disclaimer that I'm not a doctor, I'm just a person, and I'm sharing my experience. I'm not giving you medical advice. Also, I had a gastric sleeve, which is going to be a different experience than somebody who got a gastric bypass or there's another type of, I forget the other kind that people tend to get. The lap band. They don't do that as much anymore, I think. But I think there are still people who get them or who have gotten them and have their own experience to share. But yeah, I just feel like, I was in the mood. It's a Friday night. Hopefully people are around and can hang out. A gastric balloon? I did not know about that. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. It sounds a little bit like a joke, but I believe you. But yeah. If you're here, come on into the stream, say hello, like the stream, let me know that you're here. I feel like I'm just gonna go check really quick and make sure. You know what? I didn't put up a thumbnail. I wonder if that makes a difference as to whether or not people know that it's a real stream. But yeah, maybe real quick. Oh, my phone is on as my camera right now. That kind of sucks. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. While you're all here with me, I'm gonna really quickly make the quickest little thumbnail. Just because I think it's going to help people know to come here and know that this is real and that this is happening. But for those who are here, want to like the stream, share it, whatever. I don't know why I forgot to do this. I know why, because I was trying to eat dinner. I just got out of work work ended at 6, but as always, there's always stuff to discuss afterwards. So I was hanging out until afterward for about until 6:30. And then I came home and then I was getting ready and eating dinner, which I didn't even finish, and all sorts of stuff. Ooh, sorry. Hold on. 1 year anniversary. Please write any questions that you have in the comments while I'm getting this ready, because it'll help me certainly direct the conversation, because I have kind of an outline of what I think is important to discuss, but for people who maybe are unfamiliar with the process, you may have different questions. So I want to make sure that I'm giving y'all what you're looking for, not just what I think you're looking for. Hello? Hello? It's Canva, please? Please, Canva. Please. Okay, whatever. This is a substitute thumbnail. It's not going to look great, guys. I will let you know right now that it is a, it suffices. But it's not ideal. Also, sorry I'm doing this live on stream. Somebody remind me to take this out of the final. Or I'll cut it out of the stream after it's over. Hi. Thanks. Thank you so much. Stop. Okay. Thanks. Great. I'm so sorry, guys. This is not what I intended. But I also want to get it over with so I don't keep thinking about it. And just in case it helps anybody find the stream, could you stop? Okay, guys, promise T-minus like 10 seconds. All right, it's done. It's done. It's done. Hooray. Okay. Thank you guys for bearing with me through that. You're the best. While I'm here, I'm gonna really quickly do this. I'm gonna make sure the live chat is being saved. Okay, awesome. Okay, hello from London. It didn't show as a real stream. I thought it was a video. Happy I clicked. Well, thank you for being here. Oh. My puppy's trying to get you to take her toy. That's very nice of her. Well, thank you for being here, Zazu, and thank you for being here, Disney Dame. Disney Dame is a mod, which is a fun new thing that I have going on. Because the last stream, we had some foolishness happening that I went unnoticed by me for a while. So, thankfully, we had some lovely volunteers step up to mod for me for the future. So I'm very excited about that. I hope... that's really the end of the sentence. There was no I hope after that. All right, cool. So yeah, this is not necessarily the ongoing drama stuff that I usually talk about, but I think that there will be time in this stream for me to talk to you guys about some of that in my own special way. But as let me start with what this stream is meant to be about. Today is the 1-year anniversary of my weight loss surgery last year, which I brought it up in my last video about Shane Dawson and Dietary Smith and how it's gross that Shane still works with Dietary. And as far as I know, even though that video did, it got like 20,000 views, which is nice for me. I don't think that it made Shane change his mind. if Shane saw it, drat. I do hope that something happens. No other big creators that I know of have seen my video, so keep spreading it, honestly, because the content is relevant until Dietary is fired. As far as I'm concerned, it is timely until he goes away. But I'm also at a point with it where there's only so much more that I can personally give to that topic, because as what I mentioned in my previous video on the matter, the longer one that was like over an hour long, Dietary is hard for me to talk about because his whole aura and his physical appearance remind me very much of the person who essayed me. So it's very difficult. It's triggering, I guess, is the word, for me to address him as a topic, which is part of why I was hoping to bring it to the attention of other people who would not be so specifically triggered by him. I think anybody who has experienced any kind of interactions like that certainly could be triggered by him. It's not a contest, but I think it's just like, it's such a specific thing for me because of how his appearance relates to my experience that it's just, I hope somebody else can carry the torch in that regard eventually. If not, every now and then I'm gonna pop back in and pipe back up. But anyway, in that video I did mention that in late October of last year I had my surgery, and I think that what was unclear was the timeline on which I made my Dietary Smith video right before I had surgery. I had it uploaded for patrons. It was getting a bunch of YouTube demonetization. It still is, because of the subject matter at hand. And then I had my surgery on the 27th. By the 30th, I published it to YouTube. But it was like 3 days of me, like I said, not eating food, barely drinking anything, a bunch of stuff going on, and at the same time trying to fight with YouTube about whether or not, because when they demonetize a video, they suppress it because it's not making them money, because it's controversial enough that it won't make them, they won't put the good ads on it, essentially. So I was fighting with YouTube over that at the same time that I was trying to immediately recover from surgery. So unexpected, a little difficult. And it wasn't in there to, I understand how it could come off as a little, I'm special. That's not why it was in there. It was supposed to be in there to say, like, this is that important to me. But whatever, I understand if not everybody loved that reference being in there. But it is a decent segue into me talking about the anniversary now. Also, similarly, I think in October, I published a video called My Last Day as a Fat Woman, which was filmed about 2 weeks before surgery day, and in which I discussed all of my hopes and fears and what I had been going through up to that point in the pre-operation program that I was in. And then I had a very anxious day, and I was talking a lot about all of the identity that goes into being a plus-size woman in America. And especially being, I guess really it was a discussion about how do I identify myself? What goes into my identity? Is my weight part of my identity? Does my weight change who I am? Because it definitely changes how the world treats me. It changes how the world perceives me, whether I gain weight or lose weight. has a direct impact on how people treat me. But does it change how I am to myself and how I treat myself and how I see myself? Was kind of part of, I don't know, some of the points I was trying to get to. I was also trying to have it be a pretty casual, like, thoughts off the top of my head kind of video as well. So I wasn't really trying to really make it, I wasn't trying to structure it out, I guess, while I was filming it because it was vlog style. So I guess that video will give you more of a overall kind of a snapshot of where I was at that time, what I was thinking, what I was feeling. I don't remember how much of the timeline of the surgery process I really put in that video. Because really, if we want to get real, I started the surgery process in May of 2022. So you could say that the 1 year anniversary of the surgery is more like the 1 1/3 year anniversary of the surgery process, because May, June, July, August, September, October, a year and a half almost. About a year and a half anniversary of the surgery process and deciding that I needed to undergo a weight loss surgery, and that was the best route for me to take for my health and well-being moving forward. As I said in that video about a year ago, I didn't lose weight because of my appearance. I was actually kind of resentful when that was implied on one of the forms that I, after a meeting that I had with somebody on the psych staff, like, because you have to do a psychological assessment or evaluation, not like a deep one like they would do for diagnostics, but they want to make sure that you're in a headspace to handle the massive change that comes after a weight loss surgery. So they do some kind of a psych interview or assessment, and I think that the results from it said that I wanted to lose weight because of my, like, to look better or to something like that, and I raised a firestorm to say no. I never said that, and I'm insulted that you would say that I did when I didn't, because it's a big freaking stereotype that big women hate their appearances when that's not true necessarily. Like, don't assume that. If I didn't say it, then don't put it in my papers. You know? That's just me. Who am I? But just saying. So yeah, in May of 2022, I was talking with my doctor, and he said that I should consider it because I would be a good candidate for it based on my BMI at the time. To be, I don't know how comfortable I am really with sharing a lot of numbers, because I think that while weight loss is overall a positive thing for me, it's a mixed bag for me, honestly. But overall, in terms of my health, it's positive for me. But I know for a lot of people, weight loss discussions can be triggering. Weight loss, anything can be triggering. So I'm trying to be sensitive with how I talk about everything tonight. But I lost a significant amount of weight. My biggest weight in May of 2022 was like 50 pounds above my previous highest weight, and 60 pounds above my previous highest weight was when I stopped weighing myself. So I absolutely could have gotten heavier than that, and just because I was afraid to weigh myself, so I didn't really find out how big I got, like how many pounds I weighed ultimately. Also, I'm 5'11", So there's a certain amount of I'm naturally going to be a little bit heavier always than somebody who's like 5'4". Like the average American woman is 5'4" or 5'5". When you have 6 extra inches, you're gonna weigh more. But so I guess that to say, like, my numbers are like, that's another reason why I'm not really talking about numbers, because the way weight loss looks on me is going to look very different than the same amount of weight that like somebody who's 5'4" would have lost would look totally different losing the same amount of weight that I lost. So I guess, yeah, I feel comfortable sharing, like, over the past year and a half since I started the weight loss surgery process, I've lost about 150 pounds. Oh, hi, Jen's Choice. Thanks for being here. I I'll also say that probably about 15 to 20 pounds of that weight loss took place in the pre-surgery. Like, they put you on like a basic healthy eating plan that I think is meant to resemble like this is just like learn how to eat good, learn how to like not have pizza and ice cream all the fucking time, and how to like what's a nutrient, what's a vitamin, why don't you try eating some of those. So one of the biggest things that I took away from the nutrition, I've worked with nutritionists along the way. One of the biggest principles that I took away from how they structured the meals before the weight loss surgery in that pre-surgery phase, and then since going through the post-surgery, getting my stomach back to being able to process food, which is a whole thing we'll talk about, is they talked a lot about prioritizing protein, which is something I had not thought about before. But I was like, what a like simple, positive way to think about healthy eating, in that like, and this isn't for everybody. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving anybody medical advice. I'm just saying like this is kind of the principles of like the weight loss programs that I was going through, and some of the things that I learned, essentially my experience. Protein is very filling. It's also a very nutritious, like it's full of necessary nutrients that your body needs to function. Without protein, you cannot, crumble to dust, you're done. So if you prioritize protein in all of your meals, that would mean, first of all, making it the largest portion on your plate. And then secondly, eating it first. So like if you have like a steak and potatoes and greens or whatever, you eat the steak first, then you eat the greens, then you eat the potatoes, essentially. Or if you have like a more mixed thing, like a salad with chicken in it, or I don't know, like, what do I have? I have freaking, this is not my best meal, wontons, chicken wontons. It has, this is not a good example, but that's another thing that I've learned too, is that I don't need to be as strict as I thought I would need to be. And that has been such a relief, because the last thing I wanted to do, because I grew up with some very disordered thoughts, like disordered eating habits when it came to diets. This is not my first massive weight loss in my life. I've gone through at least 2 others in my adult years. Let alone when I was a kid and I wasn't paying as much attention. So the last thing that I wanted was to go through this process, have this surgery, and not have it be my last. I want this to be my last bout with like not knowing how to handle my weight. So I definitely went into it worried that I would have to really micromanage all of my food forever and ever moving forward. I'm finding that's not the case, and that's really a huge relief to me. I think that those first 6 months after the surgery, it's very important to like strictly follow the rules. But once your stomach is back in order after having like the majority of it, in my case, in the case of the sleeve, the majority of your stomach is lopped off and you are left with a small sleeve of what used to be your stomach. It needs to recover from the shock of that. But after it's able to process food again after that, you certainly want to make wise choices, but it's not like you can never again have wontons or ice cream or pizza or whatever you want. It's just that by then, you've been conditioned so much to eat healthy food over the past year with the months of pre-surgery and then those first 6 months of post-surgery, really prioritizing protein. Your tastes have changed. You're in the zone of like, yes, this is how I'm going to live. This is how I'm going to be. That you don't really want to have a bunch of stuff that you know is not good for you. Even when you're stressed. And I went through a lot of stress directly after having the surgery, with stuff that I'm not going to share online, but personal matters really flared up. And because I was forced by the tiny size of my new surgery stomach to not be able to eat as a comfort, I had to find other ways to deal with the stress. So because I was a stress eater and a comfort eater before the surgery, it is like a badge of honor to know that I can come up with some other ways to deal with my stress besides like chowing down on some potato chips. So that's empowering to know. I think that came off of like, so it's not like you can never have ice cream again or never have pizza again, but you're not really in the mode of wanting that as much, especially knowing that you don't need it the way that you may have felt that you did before when you were using it as a coping mechanism. And when I say you, I mean me personally, specifically myself. The universal you may have done that, but as for me, I did. Oh, hi, Erin. Yeah. Oh, hi, Lauren. Oh, yay. Okay, Erin. Yeah. Oh, wait. How do I make my... Yes. So, I watched all your videos. I need to move this. Can you? Sorry, not you. My program. I'll move that because I have a window showing that I don't want to show. Goodbye. Don't. No. Goodbye. Leave me alone. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Hey, I watched all your videos. You're actually one of my favorite YouTubers. Thank you for saying that. I've been doing that with protein. It's hard work to stick to diets like this, especially when life is already hard. Yes, I feel you for sure. Like sometimes you want food to be there for you. Oh, hi, Genesis. Hi. Okay, it feels like suddenly people found me or suddenly they started chatting. Like sometimes you want food to be there for you, but you know you can't, even though it was a crutch for so long. It's a struggle. Yes. Okay. So I've been rambling a bit and kind of like my ADD has been taking me on a whole journey thus far. But thank you, Erin. I feel like you're getting me back on track because I do have some points that I want to make. So I need to get through some organized thought. I don't know, Erin, I don't know if you've had a surgery. It sounds like you have, based on how you're describing yourself. But whether you have or not. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. So things are totally different when you have a surgery, I feel like, compared to when you don't. And that's something that I found along the way that I was, okay, you're just in a strict diet right now. Okay. So I think, yes. So then let me go back to where I was at earlier in the timeline before I went off on whatever tangent I was just on. Before I had my surgery, they had me on a dietary plan, a nutrition plan. And when I say diet, I don't mean like I'm going on a diet. I mean like what you eat is your diet, like in that way. I was working with a nutritionist through the hospital program I was working with, and they, oh, hi, Abby. Hi. Cool. People are showing up. I love it. They didn't really tell me anything crazy. It was like I said, they had us prioritize protein, which was a new concept to me. Other than that, the other stuff that they told us to do in terms of like, you know, getting ready for the surgery, starting to lose some weight, showing that we can maintain a healthy diet before the surgery means that we'll definitely be able to do it afterward, because a lot of the craving stuff for me went away after I had the surgery, but that's something I'll get to. But basically we need to show, we need to prove ourselves before the surgery in order to qualify to have the surgery. And so part of that is following the dietary plan that the nutritionist laid out for us. I will say, I feel like if you're not working with a nutritionist, I was very scared too when I started the weight loss process, pre-surgery dietary process, because I was like, I'm going to get judged so hard. But it wasn't even that way. It was just such common sense stuff, like cut your sugar intake, duh. Exercise sometimes, duh. Drink water, duh. Like the stuff that we all know. It's just now you have to actually do it because there's a consequence if you don't, in my case, which is if you don't, then you don't get to do the surgery. And sometimes for people like me, it's like I don't know if it's an ADD thing or what, but like if you're not backed against a wall with a consequence, then you're not going to actually do it. And I absolutely had my days when I was not following the diet. Like in my video about, my last day as a fat woman, I was binging the whole day. And that's something that I need to recognize about myself. And I knew it at the time. I was like, this is not good for me. This is not good for the longevity of my life. This is not good for my mental health. Binge eating disorder is its own disorder. So that's something that I'm addressing with my therapist in therapy. And that's the thing too, is like relying on food emotionally is dangerous, because at the end of the day, I want people to be happy. If you're happy at a larger size, God bless you, God love you, be you. I was happy at a large size, except for when I felt pain in my body from simple movement. I was happy in a large size, except for when I was like walking up and down the stairs and running out of breath. I felt happy at a larger size, except for when I was editing my YouTube videos and expecting comments about my weight, cropping the angle in to try to just like show from here up so that I could cut off, like people couldn't see how big I was and I could kind of not have to deal. I was putting my weight on the back burner compared to much more significant things that were going on in my life. And that's what you have to do sometimes, a lot of times even. But now, the reason that I got weight loss surgery was to make those physical pains go away. I think that what bothered me, a year and a half ago was I would get into these cycles with my weight and my mental health because like I grew up dieting all the time. my weight was an issue of great concern for my mother. And my sister's weight, not so much my brother's weights, of course, but so be it. So I grew up with a lot of dieting, a lot of talk about calories, a lot of going on walks, and I tried Atkins when I was like 13 or something, doing a lot of diets all the time. When I got to college, at the same time that I was like getting into body positivity and body acceptance and sizeism being a thing and like representation of sizes and all this stuff, and like kind of being awoken to a lot of that stuff, at the same time, I was still feeling big because I was in school for theater. And when you're in school for theater, which is something I'm eventually going to talk about with the Colleen Ballinger stuff when I get to it, sizeism is baked into theater like crazy. Or like body dysmorphia, or I don't know exactly what it is, but what you weigh. Oh, hey. Hi, Moxie. What you weigh when you're an actor has a direct impact on your career. It has an impact on what roles you play. It has an impact on how old or young you are casted. And that in and of itself, there are more roles for young people than there are for older people, that kind of stuff. So it's like size is a huge factor. At the same time, I'm like body positive while I sit here and eat like chicken breast and a little piece of lettuce and pretend that I'm on the HCG diet thing that was happening. That was a whole weird thing I don't even want to go into. It's obnoxious. So like I've had all these bouts with weight loss, with diets, with whatever, and I was very concerned when I went to a nutritionist leading up to my surgery that it was going to be another like diet, like that form of the word diet, not in the traditional way it's meant to be used of like what you eat is your diet, but rather like that she would put me on a diet, not a sustainable form of living life, where it was just like, this is food you should eat, this is food you maybe should avoid, and at the end of the day, if it's a birthday party, you're allowed to have a piece of cake, but like also not every day is a birthday party, so maybe don't have a piece of cake every day, like things like that. My nutritionist was lovely. She was non-judgmental. And I think there's a difference when you're working with a nutritionist who is in a bariatric program, because they're used to dealing with people who are so emotionally connected to food and who like have usually oh boy, I got a notification. I should turn off my notifications. Usually if you have any kind of, I don't know, non-standard, I guess, eating patterns, it's usually related to something. There's hand-to-mouth addiction. I had a binge eating disorder. There's, of course, people who undereat and have, issues related to that. People who overeat, whatever. Yeah, exactly. After therapy, I started calling diets food restrictions. And a lot of times, without intending it, that is what people end up doing, is rather than like developing a lifestyle that makes sense for your health, it turns into a lot of disordered thinking about various foods or about eating and eating styles and whatever. I can tell that my ADD meds, this is why I don't do late night streams. My ADD meds are worn off, and I was on a tangent and I forgot where I was headed with it. I think there's a huge benefit to working with a nutritionist if you're not, especially working with a nutritionist who specifically works with patients like who are in bariatric programs, like who are at that level of needing help with their weight. Because like, again, in my case, I felt pretty happy at whatever size because I had been through so many sizes. That's what I was going to say before. I'd gone through so many weight losses in my life, especially since I was a kid, several times as an adult. I've grown this disconnection from my physical body. And I don't know if it's the same as body dysmorphia, to be honest with you. I think it's a little bit different, but where it's like, I want to be able to say, I love myself at every size. My weight is just gonna change throughout my life. And that is a fact, especially people who are able to get pregnant and who do get pregnant, you know, having a baby, the whole birth process, huge changes happen to your body. If your career is a physical career versus if your career is a sitting at a desk career, you know, all sorts of things can impact your body. And like, if you ever get an injury and you're home for a few weeks resting, or if you have all sorts of things can happen. You cannot, you can expect that your body is going to change during your life in some massive way. Sometimes it's a weight change, sometimes it's another change, sometimes it's both. So there's a part of me that was always like, I just want to love myself and love my body however it is at all times. At the same time, whatever I was doing to protect my mental health was also having a negative impact on my physical health, because it was like I would put my physical health on the back burner because I was stressed. I was dealing with all of this other stuff. My finances were like this. My career was like this. My relationships were like this. And I had all this other stuff to deal with, and I didn't have the mental capacity to deal with also controlling my food, or like, not taking the convenient route of going to McDonald's and just like picking up a meal there. You think after a big long day, making not enough money, getting yelled at, and and then going home to whatever, a mess at home or whatever, do you think I'm not? Do you think I'm going to go home and cook? No, I'm going to grab a McDonald's on the way and like eat in the car because that's the time I have, or that's the whatever. It's easy, it's sugary, it's whatever. So it's like, and I was allowing that because I knew, I was like, I am having trouble. I know I'm having trouble, and I'm okay with like, oh, thanks, Moxie. Like, I'm okay with, for the moment, putting my physical health on the back burner. But eventually, I got to a stage where I was hurting when I moved. I was hurting when I breathed. Not when I breathed, but like, I was huffing and puffing, doing very simple, walking from the car into work to sit down at my desk. And so again, it's like, I was telling myself the mantra of like, I love myself. I look good. God has blessed me with a traditional beauty, just in like, I have symmetrical features. I have high cheekbones. I'm white. I'm female. There are these things, there are these advantages, especially in a forward-facing community. I have privileges in that way. Societal privileges that make it easier for me to get by without having to and still feel pretty and have it be culturally accepted that I was pretty while I was big. But at the same time, being pretty, being pretty is one thing, but loving your body sometimes means the action of love and the action of taking care of it. Love is not just a feeling. Loving your body is making sacrifices to take care of it. And that's what I ended up having to do, because it got to such an extent, it got to such a point where I was like, I don't recognize myself when I look in the mirror anymore. I didn't know who I was. And I don't mean it in like I'm so ugly. I meant it in a like, there was, I've always been able, and now this is kind of happening on the opposite end of the spectrum, but like I've always had a sense of like what I look like. But when I was at my biggest, I would look in the mirror and be like, that's me? It looked like I was wearing a costume. Like it didn't look like who I meet, Or maybe you don't know. I don't know if that's common, but like, and that was really unnerving. And I went to my friend's wedding in early May. I was her bridesmaid. Love her. And I was looking at the photos from the wedding and I was like, that doesn't look like me. I don't think that's me, but that is me. It must be me because I know that I went to the wedding and I was the bridesmaid and that was where I stood in the lineup and that was what I wore and that's me now, I guess. So having this feeling of like being willing to love and accept my body as it changes a lot is one thing. But being willing to accept myself allowing my body to deteriorate is not love. And like being willing to allow myself to treat, as I said in my previous video, treat my stomach as a trash can and like, the idea of clearing your plate, I'm not into that anymore. Because if I clear my plate, instead of putting something in the trash, like putting, leftover rice or whatever into the trash, I stuff it into my belly. No. Either leftovers, but if it's something that doesn't keep well, my stomach is not a trash can. It's not a garbage disposal. That's not what my stomach is for. My stomach is a part of my body. This is my home while I'm here in whatever this life is. I have nowhere else to live. It's this. This is it. So I have to take care of it. I have no other. And I think there was a part of me that was like, just not appreciating the gift that I have in having like a functioning, I have all my limbs, I have all my toes, I have my eyes, I have my teeth, I have much more than some other people have, and I was taking it for granted. And that's not love. And pushing myself to the state where my joints were feeling pain from just like going up and down the stairs. The things that I was doing, I think I said this before, but like the things that I was doing to protect my mental health ultimately were having very negative impacts on my physical health. And I didn't feel good mentally about that. So, I think there's times that like body acceptance and body equality and stuff, it really applies to marketing. In the world of marketing, I think marketing should be extremely inclusive. Absolutely. Because there are people who love their plus size bodies and who are healthier at a larger size than I was. I was not one of these girls who was like, 300 pounds, but they were doing yoga and they're out doing strength training and they're bodybuilders. And I'm like, you go, girl. God love you. I wasn't one of them. I was hoisting myself to my desk job and hoisting myself back home and doing YouTube. It was, sedentary life. I was not particularly healthy. I think that my body felt out of control. Like it had gotten away from me, kind of. And I became unfamiliar with my body and who I was and how I looked and all of that. And again, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. This is Hannah at night. Completely meds gone. Meds worn off. But yeah, I think it's okay. I think it is completely valid to love and accept your body and to want to make it the healthiest version of it. And I don't mean like the Instagram version of a healthy body. I mean your actual specific personal body and what your doctors tell you is healthy for you. Because Instagram doesn't know. And like bodies are not trends. I hate that shit. Where like a certain type of body is the trendy type of body to have. Ooh. Do you mind if I put this up, Abby? Oh, hi, Rhapsody. Yeah, Rhapsody. No pressure to stay long. Thank you, Abby. Okay. So, Abby, I was always pushed by others to eat more because of my size. That led to anorexia. It wasn't until I couldn't recognize myself in a photo for me to change. I can relate to that feeling. Thank you. Yeah. I think that what's weird sometimes, like nowadays, is like it's almost taboo to say that you are or were at one point at a place where you wanted to lose weight, because then you get this like, the flood of like, oh, love yourself, accept yourself, you're beautiful at every size. And I'm like, I didn't say I didn't love myself. I didn't say I don't accept myself. I didn't say I'm not beautiful. I said I want to lose weight because my knees hurt when I walk up the stairs. These things are not mutually exclusive. You can have things in your body that you want to change. Like, I love my house. Like I love this place where I live right now. I love my house, but I still want to put some art on the wall. That doesn't mean I hate the house. It means I want to change it up a little bit. That's all. Like, can we freaking relax? Ah. Yes, Moxie. Yes. I'm glad that you're working with a doctor. I'll repeat again, this is just me sharing my experience. I'm not giving medical advice. This is just obviously this is just feelings. This isn't anything that anybody should like base their life on, but you need to talk to a nutritionist if you haven't yet, and you're having like especially lifelong battles with never quite finding your homeostasis. I think that's really what it is like eventually I would like to find my homeostasis, I guess, of like, what do I want my normal eating to be like? And then just kind of keep that, because I haven't had a consistent, normal eating style, I guess, until I went through this weight loss process. And the only reason I did that was because it was overseen by my nutritionist and the doctor and the surgeon and whoever else, but mostly the nutritionist was overseeing my diet. And by diet, I mean food plan, not being on a diet. And she was instructing me what to eat and when and how much of it, and not in the greatest specifics. Like, she wasn't like, okay, so this morning you need to eat 1 egg and 1 piece of toast. Like, it was just like, here's a list of foods and here's a potential, a draft menu that you could base your life on. You don't have to, but like, here's some options if you need inspiration. And having never worked with a nutritionist before, it was a lovely experience. Yeah. And especially I was worried that the people I worked with would not be super sensitive, but they were. And they were very understanding about the correlation between my eating and my mental health, and the fact that I was, before the surgery, going through a ton of freaking crises. 2022 and 2023 has been back to back crises for me and my fiance, and both of us together, and our cats, and which, by the way, I know I posted about this on YouTube shortly after it happened, but Dixie passed away a couple weeks ago, so if you don't see her around anymore, that's why. Oof, I didn't think I was gonna be sad about it on camera. So sorry, that's random, but I just and I don't even know who's gonna see this stream. Yeah, there's it's not my most populated stream, but she was old and she lived a long and well-loved life, and she thank you, Disney Dame. There's not much. I don't know, because I don't want to get too far off track, but we loved her very much, and she was experiencing an emergency that ultimately she wasn't going to be able to come back from. So we had to kind of let her go at that time, rather than try to make something happen that just wasn't going to happen. But we loved her dearly, and we'll miss her. And I have I don't know, this seems probably obvious. We have pictures of her in the apartment, and there's footage of her on my channel, but there's way more footage of her, honestly, on my first channel, on Pretty Hippie Me, because we had her for a couple years before. Well, my fiance's had her since he was 15 and she was 1 year old. So he had her for a very long time before I met her about 5 years ago. And we had her, like, she was in my life for about 2.5 years before we got Jupiter. So all that, the Pretty Hippie Me channel has more footage of her. So you might actually get to know her better through that footage. And to be honest with you, I'm very happy that I have those videos, because what's nice about YouTube is, like, I get to put up the videos of her being silly and doing the things that, like, ultimately toward the end, because she was sick, she, like, wasn't really doing as much anymore, but to remember that that's how she was is really refreshing to have that footage somewhere. So Anyway, because I mentioned cats plural, I think is why I thought to say this, and she is no longer with us, but we love her and we miss her. But anyway, yeah, I have not gone about this the way that I thought I was going to. I'm like in tangent town so much, man. So definitely leave me questions in the live chat if there's anything specific you want to know about. Otherwise, I'll just keep kind of like going with what comes to mind. But yeah, so before the surgery, I had the dietary plan. I had groups that I would go to where we talked about what life was going to be like after the surgery, why we do things a certain way, best practices with measuring food and, good ways to get your exercise in while you're recovering from surgery and your abdomen has been, needs to recover. All sorts of stuff. Checked in with a lot of people along the way beforehand, psychiatrists, and the leader of the group classes we would have individual calls with us, and of course the surgeon and the nutritionist and like all these people. Went to get the surgery. I had the surgery. Went home for 3 weeks. The first 2 weeks was, liquids only, protein shakes and bone broth. Let's see, yummo. After those 2 weeks was incorporating in soft proteins like Greek yogurt, eggs, pureed meat if you're into that kind of thing, but I'm not, because that kind of stuff makes me gag, so no thank you. But like refried beans, people are into that. I'm not really in, but some people are. I have some texture issues, so a lot of the soft proteins were like, oh, no, can't. And then I think after about a month with the soft proteins, at some point, about 6 to 8 weeks after the surgery, you start to very slowly incorporate in little bits of other foods. My housemate is watching sport downstairs, so if you hear a random yell, it's them. I don't remember, like essentially 1 year out from the surgery where I'm at now, I'm now able to eat pretty much whatever food I decide. It has more to do with the amount of it that I eat and how quickly I eat it. Because I have a few wontons in here. If I like house all like 8 of these wontons at once within like a minute, I'm gonna have like stomach pain. I'm gonna have especially like a few months ago I would have like gagged and like upchucked. But that's the biggest thing at the beginning is the speed at which you eat. Because whether you have a gastric sleeve or gastric bypass or I can't speak for the lap band. I should just go with the bypass and the sleeve because those are the two that I knew more about. You reduce the surface area of what your stomach. You reduce the surface area of your stomach severely. So your normal absorptive things, abilities that your stomach has greatly reduced as well. So it takes a while for your stomach to figure out how to digest food again. And along with that, you start out the process taking a lot of like heavy duty multivitamins. Like technically for the rest of my life I should be on bariatric multivitamins. I need to get back on the prescription the subscription because they're expensive, which is a real pain in the butt. But that's one of the things you sign up for. So is gastric reflux. I had gastric reflux before I had the surgery. And at this point, I'm pleasantly surprised that it's pretty stable right now. But especially right after the surgery, it was a lot. It's a noticeable change in your life. The added gastric reflux. What else? Yeah, you're eating just various forms of protein for a long time. Protein and vitamins for a long time. For at least like the first 3 months. And then eventually you get into incorporating in soft vegetables, soft fruits like banana, berries. Even the skins on the berries can bother your stomach. So like applesauce. I don't know, what else? Stuff like that. Like pineapple, for example, like the strings in the pineapple would be too rough, too much like roughage for your stomach to digest necessarily at the beginning. So it's like really your stomach relearning how to digest food, how to process food. And now a year out, I feel like I'm at a point where just about anything that I have, my stomach can process it. There's some things that might still be uncomfortable. And most food, I can't like sit there and like rapid fire eat it. Oh, you know what? Well, 1 month after my surgery was Thanksgiving Day. So Thanksgiving Day, yeah, that's when you can start eating food again. Not 3 months, 1 month. Thanksgiving Day was the first day that I started eating anything besides just like protein drinks and Oikos 000 yogurts. And it was an experience because, first of all, I've never had such an empty Thanksgiving plate in my life. But secondly, even though I just had like the tiniest little scoop of like sweet potato and like the slimmest little sliver of a pumpkin pie or whatever, like I couldn't get through my plate. And like, thank God there was somebody else in the family. This was at my fiance's family's house, who had she had a sleeve or a bypass. I think she's my fiance's aunt. I think she's had a bypass. I don't know for sure. But she, even now, years later, she still has this very small Thanksgiving plate. And so at least the family is familiar with how like the one person in the family who's had a bariatric surgery, how little they eat, or at least can eat all at once. And that was another thing too, is like, it's not that I can't eat. It's that like I eat slower now. Like I was at my fiance's cousin's wedding, and because we were the bride's family, the servers were a little bit more attentive to our table. I mean, not that they weren't attentive to other tables, but like they were like really available for us. And I felt to the extent that I felt a little bit like I was being rushed because like I needed to eat my wedding plate very slowly because I physically could not eat it fast enough. I wanted to eat all of the chicken and whatever I had ordered, but I just like I needed like an hour to get through it, and at a wedding there's not that. At this point, my portions are certainly larger. I'm supposed to have between a cup and a cup and a half of food at each meal at this point. I don't measure, to be honest with you. I don't track my meals. I don't weigh my meats. I don't do a lot of the stuff that I'm supposed to do because I'm trying my best to stay out of past disordery kind of stuff that I've done. I don't weigh myself. Certainly not every day, but like I barely weigh myself. I went for a follow-up appointment a couple days ago, stepped on the scale there because I had to. I was like, oh, okay, that's a fine weight. Moved on with my life. Because if I get into the habit of like weighing myself every day, I will go down a dark path that I don't want to go down. You know, like I think I'm at a point where like I know what my triggers are. I know what my battles are that I'm fighting. And I'm actually doing something about them instead of kind of pushing them to the side. I think pushing these battles and issues to the side in the name of self-love and self-acceptance is not actually self-love and self-acceptance and body love and body positivity and whatever. I think it's more body positive to take good care of your body and to like recognize why you might be doing the things that you're doing and trying to, you know, like not ignoring it, because that's also what happens when you do ignore it for a long time. Eventually you have to address it. And for some people maybe that works. I'm the kind of person who like I like to focus on things, like put all my focus all at once on a particular topic or a particular issue, deal with it, be done with it, move on. And I feel like that's essentially kind of what I've done in this case with the weight loss surgery, where I've needed to, I let it get out of control, but then I went to an extreme to solve it. And it got solved. Not that people can't have problems after surgery, and like I'm sure I'm gonna fight battles with potentially regaining weight. I'm only, I have many more years left in my life, so there's many more opportunities for things to go wrong. But God willing, this will be the end of the majority of issues, and like that's okay with me, you know? Some of the kind of normal, I think some of the kind of like popular questions people have about weight loss surgery is about like loose skin. I do have a little bit of loose skin going on, but thankfully not a ton. And I have a workout machine downstairs. I have not been working out as much as I'm supposed to have been working out this whole year. I've barely worked out at all, to be honest with you. I don't do that kind of thing. But I got a workout machine on sale, on like a half off sale. So I have that set up in my basement. I just used it for the first time this morning. I like it. It targets my legs and my core, and those are the parts of my body that need strengthening right now. So perfect. Again, it's one of those things where like, I'm not going to measure myself. I'm not going to I don't really have specific goals right now because I've surpassed all the goals that I had. And the goals that I originally had were like ranges. It was like, I would be happy if after this surgery, I was between these weights. And I'm between those weights. So, okay, all right, life is good. I'm in a healthy zone and that's where I want to be. I just bought a bunch of clothes because everything was falling off me again, and I'm happy to be there. I went to Goodwill. I went to like Goodwill and ThredUp, and a little bit of Poshmark when I was feeling fancy and felt like paying shipping for each individual item. But for the most part, it's just been like, I'm trying my best to make whatever I'm doing with my eating and with my weight and with my physical body and stuff less of a point of focus to the extent that it can get disordered, and more of a casual relationship essentially with food and with like my body. I'm no longer gonna obsess over my weight or over my measurements, but I'm gonna pay attention if I feel like there's something going wrong. I'm no longer going to rely on food for emotional support. But if I'm at a birthday party, I'm going to take a piece of cake, The biggest thing that I've come to experience most recently has been, while battling insomnia, some of the meds that I've taken for insomnia have messed with my cravings, which was that, like, this is the biggest struggle that I'm up to right now. So other than like, I kind of need to get my house in order a little bit with a lot of this stuff, because like I'm not having as many vegetables as I should have. I need to do that. I'm not having the multivitamins that I need to be having. I need to do that. I need to go get blood work so that I can do that. Keep forgetting. So I can see myself like reverting back to kind of like, yeah, it'll be fine. And I don't want to get to that level, because again, if I put it on the back burner, that's where things can go awry. So I need to at least move it to the front burner next to what I'm working on. If I'm cooking something here, it's a different one. But I need to make sure that I'm not putting it on the back burner anymore. But I'm also like, one of my biggest ADHD issues is not knowing I need to eat till I'm starving. So I usually eat pretty fast. I can't imagine eating slowly, to be honest. Yeah. It's annoying to get used to. But yeah, so I'm dealing with the insomnia that took me out for a while in May. May was about 6 months after my surgery. So that was a precious time for me to fall into this insomnia issue and being at home. And it was a very interesting experience. In adjusting meds for insomnia, it has led to potentially wanting to adjust meds for ADHD. When we did that made the combination of meds for the insomnia and ADHD it's like my 3 big Achilles heels right now, I guess, are insomnia, ADHD. I thought it was just those 2 for a long time until we changed up these meds. And then I realized, oh wait, cravings. Because I did not have, can I tell you, for the first time in my life, since May of 2022 until about July of 2023, despite going through the most stressful months of my entire life, I did not have cravings. I've never experienced anything like it before, where just all of a sudden, whether it was the conditioning from the program I was in or whatever, I was just looking at food in this very detached way, where it was not emotional anymore. It was looking at it like, oh, this is a wonton. It is made of carbs, protein, a little bit of vegetable. It fits these 2 boxes on my checklist. If I'm going to eat that, I need to make sure that I also add a vegetable or a fruit. Like, thinking about exactly what nutrients and vitamins are in there, looking at the nutrition facts, looking at the ratio, It's a little bit high on carbs for the ratio, but it's not the end of the world if later on in the year I'm not having, or later on in the day I'm having a much more high protein, low carb meal. Then it kind of balances out. It's not the end of the world. Like just looking at it as like my body is a machine. This is fuel for the machine. And not really having the emotional attachment or feeling detached from it, not having the attachment to it, not having the stress, not having the emotional eating, the comfort eating. It was like gone for like over a year. And I was like blessed beyond belief over here. And then all of a sudden in comes mirtazapine, which, because I was having a real hard time sleeping, with the insomnia and all. And mirtazapine was the one med that was helping me stay asleep. There were plenty of meds that could help me fall asleep. It was the staying asleep that was the issue. And mirtazapine has a tendency to increase cravings, increase hunger, feelings or whatever, which leads to weight gain. I did not feel that effect so much until we started adjusting my ADHD med. And my ADHD med has an appetite suppressant in it. So when we lowered my ADHD med, which also lowered the appetite suppressant, and we had this new sleep med that raised the appetite, you can imagine all of a sudden, for no reason, I was finding myself walking over to the fridge to make myself I was like, I would like ice cream. I was like, I want like a PBJ for no particular reason for the first time in a year and a half. Like this stuff that I had not been experiencing all of a sudden was popping up, and I was like, am I having cravings? Am I stress eating right now? What? And it was like this most earth-shaking experience in a way, because it was like, I thought I was done with you. You go back in your closet now, and it didn't. And so the hard part is meds, because they suck. Trazodone and Seroquel. We've looked at a few different things over the weeks, like the months that we've been trying to treat the insomnia. But now it's like, it was not on our radar at first, the idea that like different insomnia meds could have an impact on my weight. Like I was just worried about how it was going to impact the ADHD meds. And then all of a sudden in comes the cravings machine, and I'm like, shit, now I have to also think about how it's going to impact my weight, apparently. And I was not prepared for that. And this is when I knew, like, I had to make a choice, which you don't want to find yourself in a position of wanting to have to make a choice between your mental health, your physical health, or your sleep. Which one do you want to have? You can't have all three. That's kind of where I was at. And I was like, well, fucking sure. So, what we ended up doing was we came to kind of a middle ground on the ADHD med and the sleep med, where they seemed to, like, this raises the appetite, this lowers the appetite. We came to a place where it seemed pretty neutral. And then October came this month, and things just got like really, really intense. A lot of stuff that's been going on, including Dixie passing. And I haven't been sleeping properly, and which is why you haven't seen me this month. I have, as I said toward the beginning, I had so many plans and dreams of what I was going to do with October, and then all of a sudden problems were happening, and my cat was in the hospital, and more problems were happening, And then it was the end of October and I got more shifts at my job, which is lovely, but it requires completely restructuring everything that I was doing with YouTube and in general. And on top of that, still in recovery from the insomnia. I only started sleeping properly with the help of mirtazapine since like August, after about a year and 4 months of only getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night for like a year and 4 months. Which, by the way, can I just make a comparison with insomnia real quick, sidebar? Because I haven't made a whole video about insomnia, have I? I don't know if I did. I talked about it at one point in one of my streams, but because every now and then I'll have somebody talk to me about insomnia and say like, oh, well, it's just like when people have a baby, the baby keeps them up all night. You just kind of got to push through it. And, that's just how it is sometimes in life. You just don't sleep so good. And I'm like, no, it's different. And here's why. If anybody is unclear about insomnia, my type of insomnia, where it's anxiety that wakes me up at 3 a.m. and I can't go back to sleep. Let me just tell you why. If you have a baby that wakes you up at 3 a.m. because it's crying and you need to go feed it or you need to rock it or whatever to get it back to sleep, at least you have a baby. You have something beautiful and living and productive and blessed and special. You have a reason for what's going on. It's not your brain doing somersaults and backflips and handstands over absolutely nothing. You're not catastrophizing about hypothetical situations. You're not just sitting there in the darkness for no purpose, driving yourself up a wall, and you can't get back to sleep. And watching the hours tick by and losing sleep over literally absolutely nothing. You're losing sleep over a baby. At least at the end of the day, you have a baby who grows into a child and lives a beautiful life, and there's a reward there. There's a reason there. It's different. And it's not a contest. So people who say things like that, it's not a contest. But just please understand. It's not the same. So don't say shit like that to people who can't sleep. Thank you for listening to this PSA. Because my God, the shit that people say because they think they're helping. I don't know what they think that was supposed to help, the person who said that to me. This was an in life, like a real life person, not on the internet. Although I've gotten the occasional similar internet comment, but I think we all just really need to take to heart the "it's not a contest" motto. can we all just share our experiences and just like feel sympathy and empathy for each other without comparing? Like, unless you want to offer help and say like, well, this was helpful for me when I went through exactly the same thing, maybe it will help you. But also don't get offended if the person, for example, didn't ask for help and doesn't want to hear help and really just needs a moment to vent and tells you so, you know? No, thankfully it wasn't a doctor. Although it was somebody who works in the medical field, but it was not a doctor. But I'm sorry to hear that. There are some doctors gone wild out there, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. So, yeah, I'm trying to be extremely careful moving into the rest of 2023. And this is where we can talk a little bit about content ideas that I have coming up. Because we're at like 11 people watching this stream. You're the core of the core, and I know that. So I feel like I trust the opinions of the people who are here. So because I have had this insomnia rebound and I cannot, I draw the line with if a YouTube topic is keeping me up, I just need to let it go. And for a little while here, I have been stressing about wanting to do what I said I was going to do with the Colleen Ballinger mega timeline of everything. That in and of itself has not been keeping me up, but I think the how to go about it and do it properly has been keeping me up a little bit. I think what I want to do, well, actually no, there's a couple things related to the Colleen mega timeline that have been on my mind a lot. Let's just put it that way. Part of it is how to go about it, and part of it is as I have been doing my research, which to be honest with you, I haven't done as much as I have wanted to do by this point in time. I wanted to be like done by now with the research and the presentations, but October just didn't work out that way, and so be it, you know? The research that I have done so far about the beginning of Colleen's life and the beginning of her channel up to like, you know, childhood up to 2015 has been triggering because of a lot of similarities that I feel between her upbringing and mine in the sheltered, conservative, kind of shiny, happy people kind of way. And I know that I need to go into that topic eventually on my channel because there are a lot of stories that are leaning in that direction, like the Ruby Frankie stuff. Colleen has traces of it throughout. A lot of I follow Scientology content, so there's a lot of Scientology shenanigans going on that I could also talk about. I struggle with discussing that stuff as it relates to choline. So I have thought about a couple of ways of going about things, and I want you all to let me know in the live chat and in the comments if you watch this afterward. God bless anybody who watches this on the replay and gets this far. If you do, you deserve a reward, so put a trophy in the comments section, because God bless. I don't know how anybody's even here watching this right now, because I've been all over the map tonight. But anyway. One thing I was thinking about doing was addressing, as it relates to choline and as it relates to me, the impacts of the conservative fundamentalist evangelical culty extremism in our upbringings by watching shiny happy people and reacting to it before I get into the choline timeline. Oh! That's fascinating. Rhapsody. My mom's uncle is actually the current president of Azusa. I have questions about Azusa. I want to find out more. Email me about that, because I need to and that's part of my research, is I need to look at their programs and exactly like where they fall on the conservative to culty spectrum. What I don't want to do is go into this choline timeline and in any way make it about me. And so I worry that trying to explain Colleen's upbringing by relating it to mine does that. When really what I'm trying to just say is like, I know what she's talking about here because I've lived it. And so I can validate that what she's describing is real and it happens in a lot of families, and where she's coming from by being ignorant about X, Y, and Z subjects. I just wasn't on the internet. If I had been on the internet, I would have been making the same, not the same. I wouldn't have been treating people the way that Colleen treats people. But as far as like not understanding that certain things are racist, it took me a little while longer than it should have on certain things. Most of it got squashed out of me during college, thank God. But there was plenty of stuff that like I was way behind on. And so I fear that like me relating to Colleen on certain aspects of things might make it a little bit too much, making it about myself when that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to explain that like there's a whole subculture of Americans whose lives are this way. They are this sheltered. They are this ignorant. And basically making the point of like, what do we do about that? Because Colleen and her family are all over the internet showing us that these communities exist and they are able to make places where they thrive online, and they thrive in her comment sections. And they damage people. What are we going to do? But at the same time, that is a totally like off-topic topic compared to the timeline of what we're actually discussing that she did to people. And that Corey did to people, allegedly. So, I guess I'm struggling with like how deeply to get into that as opposed to like, excuse me, what I was thinking about doing, what I kind of landed on recently was doing a series of live streams where I am building my mega timeline. And these are streams that I imagine, if I go forward with this, would be happening as soon as like next week. Because today's Friday. Yeah. Oh boy, I gotta get up early to go to work tomorrow, so I gotta go to bed soon. But it'd be a series of live streams that are like research with me streams while I build my Colleen Ballinger timeline. And the source material that I've been working off of is the excellent timelines that are on Reddit already. But the process that I'm going through right now is going through and double checking everything that's on those timelines, as well as the there are certain things on the timelines that are just kind of written there because in the Colleen Ballinger fandom, people know what they refer to and like what they are and what they mean. I don't, because I haven't watched Colleen for like over a decade. So, and even then, I just saw like a friend of mine, I think is still a fan of hers, unfortunately, but like was a big fan of her back in like the 2013 era and would like show us all clips of Colleen because so like we knew that she loved her a lot, but I wasn't really going out of my way to watch Miranda Sings. So yes. Yeah. Oh, we can talk about Ruby Frankie. I know that I said in my last stream about them that was going to be my last stream about them. I don't think that's going to be my last stream about them. But I'm trying to make good on my Colleen promises before I go forward with more Ruby Frankie. But yeah, so as for Colleen, if I do some streams while I'm building the timeline, you'll see me going through all of the different evidence as I'm gathering it, as I'm collecting it, so that you know it's there. And then I'll make a video, a published video, where I go through the timeline, snip, 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 quick. And I'm not showing all the video clips and all the photos and whatever, but basically what's the importance of the timeline to me is what was co-occurring. While Colleen was doing this to this person, what videos was she publishing on her channel and who was she talking shit about over here at the same time that she was doing this and that and there? You know, the coordinated effort of everything and how they all overlap is extremely interesting to me. And I would wonder about changes in her content. At what point? I would wonder about different iterations and generations of group chats that she's had over the years. Stuff like that. So also just seeing everything in chronological order, I feel like really brings home the depth of everything that she's done that we know of. And there's always a ton more that hasn't even been discussed. So, or at least like not publicly that we're all like aware of and know of. Oh, have a good night, Rhapsody. Thank you for being here. So yeah, I guess I wonder thoughts on doing streams while I'm building the timeline, and then a final video where I go through the timeline kind of quick, all the points on it, like naming the points on the timeline without going into great detail, but the details are there if you decide to pursue them. Also, the depth to which I should go into the fundy element of this. Especially as far as it relates to me, because I'm not trying to make it about me, but I guess I am there to say that it's real. Like, this stuff is not just Colleen's family, like, it's a whole culture. And it's pervasive and it's damaging. I think it would be good to have the timeline. I've always seen things happening by victim and topic, not by timeline. Yeah, that's what I've noticed too, is people go one person at a time or one topic at a time and not necessarily just like a full list, and that's kind of what I would like to do. I think no matter what, by the end of this year, I'm gonna get into the fundy stuff, either as it relates to the Frankie family, although it's different because I was never Mormon. I was fundy, but not Mormon. And I think watching Shiny Happy People is a good way to kind of go about that. I just don't know if I should do that before, during, or after the Colleen stuff. Even that. If you're here in the live and you have an opinion, or if you're watching on the replay, let me know about that. Because it's a big conversation to have, but it's also very timely with what's happening right now with YouTubers in the news. Because we have two massive scandals with Colleen and with the Frankies. Fundamentalist Mormons, the Frankies, and Colleen being raised in what appears to me to be a fundy Christian, evangelical, conservative, leaning towards some IBLF or whatever, IFLB, whatever the Duggars used that in the Shiny Happy People documentary. And I think that amount of sheltering can lead to some of the shit that we see them do as adults, because they're trying to figure things out as adults that they should have been allowed to learn when they were young, and they didn't. And so now they're just waddling around everywhere with these limbs they can't control. That's not the analogy I meant to use. They're just fucking up. They're making the same fuck ups that a lot of us made as teenagers. But now they're adults, and like, they should know better, but they don't. So what do we do about that? We're like, in an ideal world, would they know better? Absolutely. But we're not in that ideal world. And the reality is that to a certain extent, at some point, they don't. At the same time, at some point, their audience or other people around them tell them, hey, this is weird, or hey, this is racist, or hey, don't do that. And then do you take that criticism and change and do better? Or do you, again, possibly because of your upbringing, where you're used to being the different one, you're used to being ostracized, you're told to expect being different from other people because you're so holy, because you're so God chosen, you're the chosen ones, so you have to be different. So if people tell you what you're doing is wrong, you're actually doing the right thing. Oh, I was going to say Shane seemed like he grew up in that kind of environment too. Yet they lash out doing all of these things that people objectively look at being wrong. But yeah, it's like, I have this specific perspective on this story that I think is interesting. Like I can see these threads woven throughout these different stories and these different influencers, but I don't know. I don't know if it matters to people or if it's like off topic enough that it's not the time to bring it up. I don't know. That's why I'm asking for your thoughts. I'm also again not expressing myself the best because I'm tired and the ADHD meds have worn off and I didn't finish eating my dinner. So I'm probably going to wrap it up soon. I feel like, did I say everything I wanted to say? Also, the amount of influencers still defending Colleen after everything. Peter Mon was discussing it the other time, and it's insane. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked at the amount of influencers who are still... And it's sad because, like, I wanted to think that Glozell was doing some fun and funky, cute little wholesome things with her life, but I guess not. I guess she's hanging out with Todrick and Colleen and liking Corey DeSoto's thirst trap Instagram photo. Okay, Glozell. God forbid I have hope for anybody over the age of 35 in this industry. Oh, I didn't see that Raw Beauty Christie supported Colleen. I need to learn more about that. Interesting. Very interesting. What else did I want to say about surgery? The biggest issue now is the meds, but we talked about that. My next mission is to work out and build strength. I don't have a particular goal in terms of size or weight or anything because that's not how I'm measuring my success. My success is my health and feeling like I can move and groove, and like I want to start stretching or doing yoga or something that gets my whole body, like dancing, doing something that gets my whole body moving more often. Also, if I can sleep, that's an indicator of success to me. If I can get the insomnia off my chest. I'm in a much better place now health-wise than I was a year ago. I think that's kind of a given. Good news is that if you don't feel a lot of cravings after the surgery, that's probably going to stay unless you're like me and you go on mirtazapine. Then maybe not. Mirtazapine will bring those cravings right back. And I guess, so maybe that's something to think. I mean, I was thinking about if you're on a medicine that brings, that might increase cravings or might have weight loss as a side effect, think about that. If you're somebody who went through a weight loss surgery, think hard about that if cravings have gone away for you. But also what I'm happy about is at my most recent check-in that I did with my nutritionist and everything, they have there are medicines that specifically control cravings, so that might be a path for us to try moving forward so that I don't have to change my ADD meds or my sleep meds. It's a very interesting triangle that I'm trying to navigate with those. What else? I don't know. I've lost a bunch of clothing sizes, but I think that that's kind of a given because I've lost a bunch of weight. Um, like I said, I can eat pretty much whatever I want, but I just need to be careful how fast I eat it and what the portion sizes are. The biggest, there's a lovely Instagram account of a dietitian or a nutritionist. I want to try to find her if I can, because she's been very, her content has been very helpful. Hold on, I texted it to my mom recently for one of her clients. Okay, bariatric meal prep on Instagram. Hold on. Yeah, my girl. Bariatric meal prep on Instagram. She's a dietitian I didn't even know she had so many followers at this time. But her content is great. It's very easy, relatable, like just ways of looking at food, a bunch of different meal ideas and stuff for also she mentions about different stages of being post-surgery. For example, one of the things that she was talking about recently, which like blew my mind, but then I was like, of course, that absolutely makes sense. Hold on. One of the things she talks about in one of her recent videos was about how as your stomach gets back being used to like being able to digest food and stuff, one of the things to be mindful of is not necessarily even like the amount of grams of protein that you're getting in a meal, but how dense is the protein. Because if protein keeps you full, something like eggs or cheese or yogurt, yes, they have protein in them, but they're not as dense as something like steak or chicken breast. So they're not going to keep you as full for as long, because dense food takes longer for your stomach to break down and to digest. So it keeps you full for longer. And that was something that I was like, that makes so much sense because I had been getting into, especially once the mirtazapine brought all my cravings back, I'd been getting into some confusing habits of like, I'm eating more and I'm eating more often. And like, why am I eating more? Because you start learning to listen to your body after, especially after like not doing that before the surgery and just like kind of eating whenever I saw food. I was like, oh, food, I'll have that. You want to listen to your hungry and identify when you want to listen to your body and identify when you're hungry and identify when you're full versus being stuffed and all of that good stuff. So part of that is like, I feel hungry, I need to eat something. But also, you have your whole little meal. Why am I so hungry again so soon? It's because was your meal, not only did it have the amount of protein that you need, but more importantly, was it dense protein? For somebody like me who's a year out from surgery, I don't need the soft proteins. They're not going to fill me up the same way as like chicken breast. Now that my stomach can digest food, those soft proteins are going to they're going to zip through them quick, and I'm not going to have the longevity of feeling full. And she said it much better in a short little Instagram reel. So I've learned a lot from her content. Again, out of protection for my mental health, I am not constantly watching her page because I don't want to fall into disordered habits. But whenever I do go check out her page or one of her videos comes across my Instagram feed or whatever, I take a look and I always enjoy and I always learn from whatever she says, And she's always talking about things in a very like realistic, relatable, likely way. She's not talking about restricting things in an unreasonable, way. And what's also weird about it's good to have somebody who is specifically talking to a bariatric audience, because the way that post-surgery people eat, if you have not had a bariatric surgery, it absolutely would be unhealthy. But it's because my stomach was just cut so small, or in the case of a gastric bypass, because their tubes were reconnected or whatever, and they have so little pouch left, it's like, of course, for me, having, like, I can only have a protein, like 2 protein drinks and a bone broth in a day right after the surgery. And that's more than enough, It's like, for anybody else, that would be terrible. I would never advise that kind of eating to somebody who's not just after bariatric surgery, So you have to know your audience, and she knows her audience really well. And she knows, like, at this stage of the surgery, like after the surgery, you should be eating this. At this stage, you should expand to eating this. At this stage, you should probably be eating this. And that's super helpful too, because in those videos too, if you're in the middle or if you're in the early stages, then like, okay, the time is coming when I will be able to eat this carrot. I can't have it now because it literally hurts my stomach to process something as hard as carrot. But, in 2 months, my stomach will be able to handle the roughage of that kind of vegetable. Or you could steam the carrot or like cook it to make it a little softer earlier on in the process. But it's just interesting, like little stuff like that. I like her page. I benefited from it a lot so far. And it's, it's only been a year. So I've liked her stuff. Nutritionists are not as scary as I thought they were going to be. They're not as judgy as I thought they were going to be. So that was a very good thing to learn. What else? I'm trying not to hyper focus on my body and my food in a disordered kind of way, but I'm trying to move it off the back burner forever onto at least a side burner, because it's important enough to me now, because that's what makes more sense as body positive to me and the action of self-love. I'm doing good, pretty much. I have to get certain habits back on track. I have to eat my vitamins, and I have to eat more vegetables. It's always been my kryptonite. But I have a lot more understanding now of why I need to do that, and hopefully good ways to do that. I need to work out more, but I have the machine downstairs. So like 1 year out from surgery, I would say I am exceeding the expectations that I had. I think if I was going to look back at my prior video about this, maybe that's what I should do sometime. I'll stream myself reacting to my previous video and like let myself know that everything's okay. It's a big change, but it's a good change. And a year later, it's not even that big of a change. Because again, I am eating wontons. I have another friend who I went to work with who had a gastric sleeve or a bypass. And I was asking her about like life after surgery. And she was like, I don't know. I have a Hot Pocket for lunch. I'm like, okay. Cool. It can't be that bad if you can still have crap like that. And I'm not going to lie. I still have my McDonald's chicken nuggets these days when I'm in a rush. I have my chicken nuggets. I'm okay. I'm getting my nutrients. I'm doing just fine. As long as you prioritize protein, because that's the basic building block of human beings. You need protein. I don't know, is there anything else? Does anybody have any questions? I feel like I should just wrap up. Oh, we're after 10 o'clock. How did this happen? I appreciate you guys who are here. Thank you so much. You're just so lovely, all of you. I didn't think I was going to stream this late. I didn't think I was going to go for this long. I didn't think I was going to ramble as much as I did. But thank you so much to those of you who stuck it out. Thank you, Abby. Yeah, I would say I'm exceeding my expectations. My expectations going in were very... I didn't really know what to expect. But I was... I'm pleasantly surprised with how well everything has turned out. All right, so thank you all so much for being here. Thank you Disney Dame for modding and Rhapsody while she was able to be here. I'm glad you got the hang of it on a stream like this that was a little bit more chill and not. I didn't see any tomfoolery happening in the chat this time around, so I'm happy to see that it was manageable for you. I think I'll do one of the timeline building streams sometime soon. So, within the next few days, because today's Friday. So I imagine Monday, maybe even Sunday. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm deciding how to treat my Sundays. But mods, I'll be in touch. But other people, keep an eye out. You're going to be seeing me streaming a little more often soon. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you very much. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. Just check your subscriptions, just in case, because people get unsubscribed all the time. Especially when I take a 3-week break like I did this month. Oh, thank you guys. You're nice. Yeah, and let me know in the comments if you're watching on the replay, if you have any questions that I did not answer about the whole weight loss thing. I'd be happy to let you know in the comments any answers to any questions. Yeah, that's it. Have a good night, everybody. Peace be with you always. Bye.